I know it sounds ridiculous, but would you believe me if I told you I actually started planning this module 9 months ago? I got my first suggestion for an Amethyst Geode back in episode 4, and to be totally honest, it was one that had not crossed my mind before someone brought it up. I think a module like this has the potential to be absolutely beautiful when recreated in LEGO, and that's exactly what we're going to try and do today. And how are we going to do that? Well, with a lot of purple, of course. Let's get to building. Today's underground module is going to be 16 by 16 studs or 8 by 8 blocks. A lot of people have asked why I don't use regular base plates for these, and there's a number of reasons for that. For starters, regular base plates don't have anti-studs, and I view that as very much a limiting factor here. If I was somehow crazy enough to go even deeper with these modules, it would be more difficult to attach to the underside. Plus, I just happen to have more plates than base plates, and they can be made in any size I need them to be. Plus, plates are just thicker and therefore stronger. And because these modules are so heavy, strength is very important. But anyway, back to the build here. The plan is to have this on the front left corner of the module so that two sides of this will be exposed and be able to be seen. Our color palette here is going to be pretty straightforward. A completely black block for smooth basalt, this slightly textured one for calcite, and I'm going with transparent purple for amethyst. I think it's going to give this a real sparkle and wow effect. I don't think you need to be too much of a LEGO nerd to realize that transparent purple is probably a pretty difficult color to come by and probably isn't produced in a lot of parts, and you'd be right. Unfortunately, there are no 2x2 transparent purple tiles, at least not yet. That means we're going to have to get pretty creative with our studs not on top techniques to make sure everything looks as purple and sparkly as we want it to. We're going to have bricks facing all sorts of different directions in this build to make sure this works, and it's going to require a lot of brain power. Undoubtedly, I am not going to get everything right on the first try. That's how some of these builds work, a lot of trial and error. Let's put some purple in here to see how it looks. It definitely is a bit darker and more blue than the purple that you get from Amethyst in the game, but I think that's okay. The effect is still very obvious. I feel this is probably more faithful to the real life Amethyst geodes you see in rock shops. Tracking down this amount of transparent purple has literally taken me the better part of a year to do, but it appears to be well worth the effort. The effect here is stunning, and I think this is one of those cases where we have improved upon what we see in game considerably. The star of the show and the piece achieving the rugged look of the amethyst crystals is, of course, the iconic chi slope, of which there will be hundreds in this build. It's most important to me to get the outside of the build done first, the parts that are going to be exposed to the world to see. I want to make sure I get all those layers done perfectly. On the inside of the geode itself, of course, it won't be necessary to put the layers of calcite or smooth basalt because no one will see them, and unfortunately, guys, you can't actually mine my geode. And speaking of mine, I was hoping we could get the Crystal Knight into this build that won last year's skin vote, but it doesn't look like he's quite out yet, so we'll have to find somebody else to inhabit this module. And I've got some ideas. Like many of my other modules that I've made for this series, this stuff is pulled pretty much straight out of the game. In fact, I literally grabbed this Amethyst Geode from a naturally generating cave system in the hopes of creating it as accurately as possible for this series. One thing that does consistently surprise me about many of the things I build for the custom LEGO Minecraft world is the size of these things. The geodes are much bigger than you realize. Sometimes it takes building something in LEGO to find out just how big it is. I definitely had that experience with the Pillager Outpost, which is just ridiculously massive. One thing that's also becoming apparent to me is that even though I have a good 300 of these wonderful chi slopes, it is not going to be enough. I've only done these 2 slices, and I can already see I've put a significant dent in my pile. We'll see how much longer they last. Hopefully some of you have been following my Bricklink haul series, which is just a fun little thing I do, opening up most of the Bricklink orders I get on this channel. A lot of it has upcoming Minecraft sneak peeks because I have to buy the parts in advance. And if you've been watching that series for any length of time, you'll know that I've been collecting transparent purple pieces since May of 2022. And here we are, all these months later, and I'm still worried about running out. Here is one of my promised mistakes. What I did here is got the direction wrong for these amethyst crystals. I need to be efficient so as to conserve as many purple pieces as possible, because I don't have a lot of 1x2 bricks in transparent purple either. I'm going to switch directions on the next layer instead, which will allow me to save a few transparent purple pieces, and I think maximizes the use of the texture provided by the cheese slopes. I'm using dark purple as my backing color naturally because it should, well, bring out the purple in the transparent purple. And much like transparent purple, dark purple is also a pretty rare color with a limited parts portfolio. And it's a color that I have not been building up inventory in over the last 9 months. So I need to get a little creative with what I've got, which primarily is 2x8 plates, 2x3 plates, some 2x4 plates, and some various 1x bricks. But after a bit of struggling, I was able to pull off something pretty successful. But there's one thing I kind of hate about this. It's the dark purple and the white that shows through the gaps where I change direction. Some of these changes are going to be easier than others. For some bricks on the side, it just involves swapping out some colors, but for others, it involves basically ripping the entire module apart. I'm not gonna lie, this one hurt a little bit and took a lot of time. Plus, there was another consequence. I had already run out of cheese slopes at this point, and now I was going to have even less, as they would have to be used to fill in those cracks so that the dark purple wouldn't show through. There's no doubt in my mind that I was going to need to put in yet another final bricklink order for the remaining cheese slopes I would need, and it looked like, by my estimation, I would need at least 200 more. So I needed to find a store that had these things in bulk and hopefully had them cheap. I had a lot of walls to fill with these things, and also we still need to build the top of the Amethyst Geode, which, like many of the other underground modules I've done, I plan on building upside down. Despite the added pain these additions caused, I think you can agree with me that it was well worth the extra effort. All you see now is seamless seas of beautiful, transparent purple pieces. You can hardly tell where the gaps take place. While I wait for my order to arrive, let's build out the back of this thing for structural stability, because realize there will be larger modules sitting on top of this at some point. The sides of these walls will be completely buried by other modules, so there's no reason to make them in dark bluish gray, and I'm just using my bulk basic brick collection to make these. I brought in the good old deep dark module to make sure that these are the same height. Once this is done, I just have to wait for my cheese slope bricklink order to arrive. And it came pretty fast, to be totally honest, and it came delightfully purple. Here are, believe it or not, supposedly 209 cheese slopes. Feel free to pause the screen here and give them a count and let me know if I got scammed. I'm just kidding, I'm guessing this really is enough cheese slopes. Even though it looks like a lot, boy, they sure go fast. And even though I did end up cutting it close, I had enough to finish the walls and also to do the ceiling of this module. Do you want to know how many I had left over? 4. Enough to cover the surface of 1 block. Yeah, that was cutting it close, but hey, we got the job done. Before we call this module complete though, I want to add at least one figure on the inside exploring this beautiful geode. As much as I would like to add that crystal knight, of course, at this point, it just doesn't exist yet. Instead, I'm going to use another minifigure with some purple accents, and that's the llama knight from the llama village. I've decked him out with some rather fun accessories here, an iron pickaxe, netherite helmet, yet ironically, the most valuable item he holds is that silly little clock. In fact, that piece used on Bricklink averages $10 here in the US, but good luck finding one in the US, as it appears there's only one item available in the world, and you'll have to ship it in from Hong Kong. Just so we're clear, I didn't pay $10 for that. I bought it like last year for 50 cents, and I thought that was a ridiculous amount of money. The module that will go above this one currently doesn't exist, so in the meantime I'm going to use that small little Savannah expansion that came along with the Pillager Outpost to give you an idea of what a module would look like above this one. I rather like this look, and it'll do just fine for now. I honestly should make more 1x1 modules just so I can stack them all on top of each other like this. Wouldn't that be fun? What would be some good ideas for some 1x1 modules, scenes that I could fit within a 16x16 stud or 8x8 block space? Let me know if you've got any ideas. But that's really this module completed. I talk a lot about color in this series, and this is definitely going to be a standout in the entire display. Transparent purple might not be as rare as sand red, but it is equally striking and beautiful. And I'm glad I finally got enough pieces to pull a module like this off. Up next is going to be the Cherry Grove. For those of you unfamiliar with this biome, it's one of those being released in the 1.20 update. It's a really unique and colorful biome, and I had a ton of fun building it. If you want to watch that video early, all you need to do is hit the join button down below and become a channel member. Channel members get early access to all of the custom LEGO Minecraft episodes. But that's all I've got for this time. Thank you so much as always for watching, and have yourself a wonderful life.